Thank you. Thank you so much, Fran, for your kind introduction. And to you and Yaron, thank you so much for the good work that you do at the Canadian Society for Yad Vashem. Mr. Consul General, it is sad news for us to learn of your pending departure. Perhaps I could connect with our Prime Minister and he could speak to your Prime Minister and we could rescind that directive. It would have you removed from the province of Ontario. But I must say that it has been a pleasure and an honor, and I thank you and commend you for the fabulous work that you've done on behalf of Israel here. Thank you, sir. Distinguished guests, honorees whom we shall shortly formally recognize, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if there be any present, friends, thank you so much, all of you, for attending here today. What we gain in historic character from this building, we lose in temperature control. So we have had a fan or two installed. We've opened the windows behind us, and we'll do everything we can to keep you as comfortable as possible. And again, I thank you for joining us today. I want to thank my colleague Monty Quinter as well for his leadership over the years in ensuring that the occasion of Yad Vashem is duly recognized here in the very seat of our democracy. I want to thank the Canadian Society for Yad Vashem for helping to organize today's event and for all the work you do to identify and honor Holocaust survivors who have contributed so much to the life of our province, just as the survivors with us today have indeed done. To our very special honorees, I say, you have demonstrated exemplary courage, determination, and compassion. And for this you have our great respect and our undying gratitude. You have carried a heavy burden all your lives. It's a burden that could be made easier if you tried to forget. But you've accepted the heavy duty spoken of by Elie Wiesel when he said, "For the dead and the living, we must bear witness." You also believe, as this year's theme for Yad Vashem suggests, that each of us is our brother's keeper, that it's right for us to be there for each other, to lift each other up. And so your presence here today reminds us that even though the Holocaust represents the very worst of human nature, it could not extinguish the best of your human spirit. You did not merely survive, you truly lived, giving back to your communities through your time and talents. That's a story told again and again in the lives of the survivors here with us today. Chava Quinta, for example, worked at Baycrest Hospital as a nurse. And on top of all her work as a health professional, she organized Mother's Day parties for Shoah survivors who had no surviving children. Miriam Schlanger was nominated by Chatelaine magazine as Woman of the Year for her charitable work. Adler works with the Jewish War Veterans of Canada and helped erect a monument to their courage. Gina and Joe Tenenbaum build affordable housing for families. Emma Weiss founded the Alzheimer's Society of Halton Wentworth. Eric Weiss gives the gift of music to students at every level. Gerta Solon works with Canadian Red Cross, helping victims of war and disaster find their families. Andrew and Eva Adler's plastic recycling business, now in its second generation, cleans our environment and improves our shared quality of life. Morris Rosenberg, who returned to his former home searching unsuccessfully for family members, has helped thousands of families find their own home as a builder and developer. Several of you speak publicly and share your stories, revisiting painful memories, so that we may better appreciate the value of a life lived in peace. The fear and uncertainty of Claire Baum's childhood is told in the book Whispers in Hiding. Both Sarah Marmurick and Felix Opatowski are the subjects of films about their experiences in the Holocaust. Many of you go into our schools so that our children can have the benefit of your wisdom and your experience. This includes George Berman, George Fox, Judy and George Lacey. And I understand that Judy could not be here today, that she is in the hospital. And where's the family? Are the family here? Tell her we love her. Tell her we're proud of her. Tell her she has all of our support, and we wish her a speedy recovery. Aaliyah Hawkman, who couldn't speak about the Holocaust for nearly 70 years, now at the age of 90, tells her story in schools and synagogues in the hope that it will make a difference. On behalf of 13 million Ontarians, I thank all our honorees for leaving us this legacy. You touch our hearts by bearing yours. I know that must be difficult. You didn't choose the easy path because you want future generations to follow a better path. Of course, and Fran made reference to this, your greatest expression of optimism for a better future, of your hope for our species, humankind, is in the roughly 150 or so children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren that can be counted among you. For such an abundance of life to emerge from such tragedy is nothing short of a miracle. Judy Lacey, to choose just one example, weighed only 65 pounds on her 16th birthday. She has since celebrated the birth of 2 daughters, 3 grandchildren, and 5 great-grandchildren. My friends, your families are a tribute to the human spirit, and each child that your family welcomes into the world is a miracle of hope and optimism, the fulfillment of a dream that, deep down, even in your darkest hours, you dared to dream. In 2002, a group of Holocaust survivors wrote a letter to the world. They called it Our Living Legacy, a message from Holocaust survivors for all generations. And that letter reads in part as follows. We who staggered through the valley of death, only to see how our families, our communities, and our people were destroyed, did not descend into despondency and despair. Rather, we struggled to extract a message of meaning and renewed purpose for our people and for all people, namely, a message of humanity, of human decency, of human dignity. The Holocaust, which established the standard for absolute evil, is the universal heritage of all civilized people. The lessons of the Holocaust must form the cultural code for education towards humane values, democracy, human rights, tolerance, and patience, and opposition to racism and totalitarian ideologies. To our honorees, I say, the stories of the cruelty you suffered, the compassion you gave, the despair you felt, the defiance you showed, the loneliness you experienced, and the rich lives you went on to build, your life stories inspire us. More than that, they inspire in us a shared responsibility to remember the lessons you shared with us. So our pledge to you is that there will be no end to writing and speaking about the Holocaust and to acting on its lessons. Those lessons will strengthen our resolve as we continue together to build strong, prosperous, inclusive, compassionate communities here in Ontario and with our friends and partners throughout the world, so that all of us may live in peace, in safety, enjoying this rich gift of life and sharing our gifts to enrich the lives of others, just as you, our special honorees, have done for us. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Amick Adler was born on April 20th, 1928. in Lublin, Poland. During the war, his family endured increasingly difficult conditions in the Warsaw Ghetto. After moving to the Radom Ghetto, Amick worked in a munitions factory for 12 hours a day with little food. He was forced to walk to Auschwitz and was later sent to Dachau, where he remained until April 1945. Barely alive during the death march out of the camp, he escaped. Amick later helped in the illegal smuggling of young people to British-occupied Palestine, now Israel. Moving to Toronto in 1954, Amick became a top salesman first in the fur industry and later the jewelry business. Currently involved with the Jewish War Veterans of Canada, he was instrumental in having a monument erected to commemorate the thousands of Canadian Jewish war veterans who gave up of their lives in both world wars. He's a proud father of 2 children and grandfather of 4.
So he's going to call him up.
So at this point, please welcome Mr. Amick Adler. So proud of you.
You're the star.
Do you want to get in?
Sure. Andrew and Livia Eva Adler, would you come forward, please? Andrew Adler was born in 1924 in Puszta Dobos, Hungary. The youngest of 6 children, at age 18 he left home to seek work in Budapest. It was the last time he ever saw his parents. In 1944 he worked as a forced laborer for the Nazis, building underground tunnels for Eichmann's headquarters. Andrew eventually found refuge with Hungarian Red Cross, living in one of their safe houses. Livia Eva Zenis was born in Budapest in 1935. During the war, she lived with her family in an apartment designated for Jews. She spent the final year of the war in the Budapest ghetto, and after the war, Eva studied to become a chemist, and upon arrival in Canada, she found work in a lab. Andrew immigrated to Canada in February 1951, and after 6 months of working in a lumber camp, he had saved enough money to buy a truck to sell produce and collect scrap in Northern Ontario. His keen intuition led him into the scrap plastics business, which exists today as A&B Plastics. Andrew and Eva were married in 1960. They are blessed with 3 children and 10 grandchildren. Mr. Premier.
All right, I got the hang of this now. Claire Baum, if you can please come to the stage here. Claire Friedberg was born in Rotterdam, Holland in 1936. When in 1942 Jews were systematically arrested in Holland, Claire's father found a Christian family to hide her and her sister. After a neighbor threatened to betray their cover, the sisters were placed in the Rotterdam home of a 28-year-old woman. The children's beloved caretaker encouraged them to write letters to their parents, despite not knowing their whereabouts. After the war, Claire was joyously reunited with her family. Together they moved to Toronto, where Claire married Seymour Baum. She worked for 25 years along Seymour to build a successful company, Armstrong Baum Plumbing and Heating. Claire has spoken about her Holocaust experiences for numerous organizations and schools. A part of Claire's story is included in Whispers in Hiding, the last volume of a children's trilogy about the Holocaust. Claire is blessed with 3 children and 8 grandchildren. Mr. Premier, Claire Baum.